What's poppin' gamers, it is me Leon with a brand new 7 quick tips video. This week we're going to be finishing off our 3-part video series on building theory. That's right, we're going to be talking about the last of the 3 ultra important Minecraft building techniques. We discovered depth and we taught texturization, now it's time for color. More specifically, color palettes, color theory, and understanding how to use color to your advantage in Minecraft. After this video goes live, I'll be back to my regular old 7 quick tips videos with YouTube polls to decide on the topics, so keep an eye out for one coming very soon. With that out of the way, let's cut the chit chat and dive straight into 7 quick tips for understanding color in Minecraft. Let's go! 1. Before you even start your build, consider the biome. Most people don't give this too much thought and usually just build in whatever biome is available to them, or whatever makes the most sense for the build. But not every build needs to go with a specific biome. Sure, if you're building like a cottagecore house or something, you'll probably want to use a flower forest, but what about a modern house, or a medieval castle? That could go in a lot of different biomes, really. And this is important. The biome you're in determines the color of the grass blocks, grass, tall grass, ferns, water, and if you get any rain or snow. If you're using any of these blocks in your build, and there's a very good chance you are, then this can really affect how it looks. If lush green grass and vibrant blue water is a part of your idea, and you end up building in a desert, you're gonna have a pretty disappointing day. On a similar note, if you're building out a nature scene with waterfalls, then the mucky green water of a swamp is not gonna look right. Unless your build really needs a specific biome, then take the time to think about your grass and your watercolors and how it'll affect the look of your finished product. 2. Learn some basic color theory to strengthen your builds. That's right, boyos, it's time to get theoretical. You thought the last 2 episodes were theoretical? Well, joke's on you, bucko, cause it's time to go to art school. You see this? This is a color wheel. Let's talk about how you use it. When you're making a painting, or a drawing, or a Minecraft build, or really whatever else, you gotta take into account the main colors present in the space, and what their relations are to each other. That sounds really freaking weird, but hear me out. If you have too much of the same color, then your creation is gonna be really uninteresting. But on the other hand, too many different unrelated colors are gonna be really confusing and overwhelming for your little brain. You gotta find a balance. Once you got that, try messing around with 2 kinds of color combos, analogous colors and complementary colors. Analogous colors are just colors that are next to each other on this handy dandy little color wheel. Like for example, yellow to green or purple to red. Complementary colors on the other hand are opposites of each other. Like for instance, red and green or blue and orange. 3. Balance your stronger colors with your more muted ones. Aight, so building off of these color theory ideas, you might be wondering, well, if I make a build blue and orange, it's gonna look awful. And you're right! When I say blue and orange, I don't mean explicitly just blue and orange. There's a few things we gotta add. First up, neutral colors. Some colors just go well with everything else, and you'll definitely want to add these into your builds to help break up the more color-heavy sections. Black, white, and gray are all neutral colors, and I'm pretty sure you can figure out why. They don't have any sort of hue. After that though, you might want to consider the saturation of your color. Let's look at an example. Red concrete is more highly saturated than red terracotta. When a color is less saturated, it's less intense, and when it's less intense, you can use more of it in your build without overwhelming the viewer. Remember my white concrete and lime glazed terracotta example from last week? It's pretty much the same idea. When a block is less saturated, it's just like if it had a cleaner texture. You can use more of it in your build without your build getting really messy and cluttered and overwhelmed and bleh, gross. 4. Once you've got some color theory concepts bouncing around in your head, try developing some in-game color palettes. Okay, so you've learned a thing or two about color, now let's apply this to Minecraft. In order to get the most learning out of this, you really gotta try it on your own. But just for the sake of time, I've made a few cool in-game color palettes for you guys to check out. And as usual, if you like any of these, go right ahead and copy, they're free to use. Five, expand those color palettes into gradients. Okay, you've got a small set of blocks arranged in a funny little square on the floor. Let's now stretch those out into whole gradients. This isn't possible with every color combination due to the limited kinds of blocks in the game, but for a lot of simpler color combos you can make some really dope gradients. Check out this massive one I've made of black to gray. And here's one for black to brown. Orange to brown is great for steampunk builds or other styles that use a lot of earthy colors. Gray to green is amazing for medieval and rustic builds. You can make things look really mossy and overgrown. It's really cool. Last but not least, here's this wacky one I just threw together, white to dark blue. Who knows when you'll need a white to dark blue gradient? I don't know, but it's kinda cool anyways. 6. You might be wondering, what can I use these gradients for? Let's find out. I briefly touched on this in last week's video on texturization, but once you've got a good color gradient, you can really make your builds look more 3D. A gradient is going to direct the viewer's eye up as they perceive your build, which sounds really technical and esoteric, but it's really not. This build from last week is pretty cool because it's built using a color gradient. You can see the transition go from darker towards the bottom, up to lighter at the top. But let's take a look at some more examples. With the gradient, you could make an industrial smokestack look dirty and sooty at the top and a little bit cleaner at the bottom. Similarly, you can make a castle wall look overgrown by making the bottom sections more green and mossy. The aforementioned white to blue gradient looks pretty dope underwater. It adds a lot of mystery and depth to the dark submerged sections. It's pretty cool. 7. Once you've got the basic structure and design down, accent your build with flares of detail to give it that extra little bit of color. Color theory is only going to get you so far. At the end of the day, we're still just playing Minecraft. And you know what Minecraft has that makes every build look good? That's right, detail blocks. Don't get too caught up in color theory, textures, whatever, and forget that detail blocks can add a lot to a build. Think about light, odd shapes, and other things that bring the build down to the scale of the player. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you're building a massive megabase, it's easy to forget that the player is only 2 blocks tall. You can build these huge walls and have it look amazing, but it's totally out of proportion with the player. This doesn't always matter, but if you're a realistic and detail-oriented builder like I am, then keeping things somewhere around the scale of the player is pretty important, and that's what detail blocks are for. Fences, chains, anvils, gates, lanterns, villager workstations, flowers, all these things are scaled down to the size of the player, and you should use them when it makes sense to do so. It's going to add a little bit of flair to your builds that you just couldn't achieve with just a handful of nice color combos. Alrighty fellas, I hope all you lovely folks out there enjoyed this 7 quick tips video. If you're still here, thank you for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. Please consider liking the video and hitting that subscribe button so the YouTube algorithm overlords promote my content just a little bit more. Until next time, have a wonderful day my dudes, and check back next week for more 7 quick tips. Peace.